Agriculture is on a rise. Agriculture is moving in the right direction. Agriculture is that backbone for Jamaica to develop itself into what we know it ought to be and can be and will be.
Agriculture is also based on human-nature interaction. It is a powerful universal thread of our species' evolution and the continuation of our global economies, our relationship to one another. Thank you for joining us for another exciting edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am your host, Audrey Williams. Today we continue to honor our farmers as we sow to grow smart and reap to eat smart. Are you ready? Because we have a fantastic show lined up for you. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back after the news.
Hi Jamaica, this is Pernell Charles Jr., your Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. April is recognized as Farmers Month, and that's the time for us to celebrate our noble, hardworking and resilient farmers and fishers. Our food heroes have led Jamaica through some of the most difficult times. Whether it is pandemic, global conflict or climate change, you have continued to persist and exceed expectations. So we want to thank you for 7 consecutive quarters of growth in the agricultural sector and assure you that the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will continue to give the necessary support so that you can continue to be the food heroes that you are. Farming is viable and food security is everybody's business. So, as we celebrate Farmers Month, we want to urge all Jamaicans to get on board and grow smart and eat smart. One love.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Friday, April 14, 2023. Government is asserting that it will not allow deep-sea mining until the relevant regulatory framework, which includes protection of the marine environment, is created. The update came from Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing. The minister was responding to concerns about potential environmental issues if the practice should be pursued through the International Seabed Authority.
That work is work which is underway, but we are not at all clear on when those regulations are likely to be finalized. So this is not something which is imminent, and we'd like people to understand that as well. Very deep technical work is being undertaken to make sure that the regulations will protect our marine environment. So this is work that continues.
Deep-sea mining involves extracting and excavating mineral deposits from the seabed at ocean depths greater than 200 meters. The deep seabed covers roughly 2/3 of the total seafloor. Minister Johnson-Smith says protection of Jamaica's marine environment is of paramount importance. She points out that within the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the area for deep-sea mining is way beyond the national jurisdiction of any country.
There are geographically defined areas that are beyond the 227 square kilometers that surround every country as their economic, their EEZ. So they are way beyond not only Jamaica's waters, Jamaica's coast, Jamaica's deep sea bed, but beyond that of any country.
Several roadways across Westmoreland are slated to be repaired and rehabilitated. Key among these will be the main thoroughfare in the community of St. Paul's, for which approximately $290 million has been allocated. In addition, Minister with Responsibility for Works, Everald Warmington, says approximately $20 million has been allocated for repairs in the Goodens River District. The minister was giving an update after a tour of several roadways that need repair. They include Grange Hill to Glasgow, Little London to Moreland Hill, Little Bay to Salmon Point, Retreat to Sheffield, and Whitehall in Negril.
These are areas that need to be addressed urgently, and that Retreat, we have flooding, we need to look at that to see if we can put a new box culvert in so that we can have a proper flow of flood waters and whatever when we do have rains and whatever. So I'm convinced that being here, the expenditure is necessary, worthy, and there are reasons to do it.
Mr. Warmington was accompanied by representatives of the National Works Agency and members of Parliament. He advised that the scope of works would include asphalting, patching, and drainage improvement. The NIDS project is entering a new phase with 300 Jamaican volunteers set to test the National Identification Card enrollment and issuance processes. The Office of the Prime Minister is reporting that the target quota was exceeded within 24 hours of inviting volunteers to register for participation at nidsfax.com on April 4. Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Floyd Green, has expressed appreciation for the public's enthusiasm and interest in the new National Identification Card. The post-technical pilot phase is the final step before the establishment of the National Identification and Registration Authority, NIRA, which will manage the National Identification Services. The project executing unit and the PBS consortium have successfully integrated various systems, such as pre- and online enrollment, queue management, and identity management. The system is now able to personalize national identification cards with digital certificates as one of the final layers of protection for card holders. The Office of the Prime Minister is also making arrangements to establish the governance and support structures for the NIRA and the National Identification and Registration Inspectorate. Information Minister Robert Morgan is advising security guards who have contract-related concerns to formally approach the Labour Ministry to protect their rights. This comes in the wake of reports that certain security firms forced guards to sign employment contracts waiving their entitlement to benefits after years of service. Minister Morgan stresses that anyone who wants to provide a service to the Jamaican government must abide by the Supreme Court ruling for companies to end the practice of engaging security guards as contract workers and regard them as employees with all rights and privileges that apply.
Security guard firms would be required to make statutory deductions where applicable and guarantee payment for overtime work in accordance with the laws and payments of overtime wages.
The Information Minister was speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press conference at Jamaica House. And finally, the communities of Treasure Beach and Mountainside in St. Elizabeth now have access to greater opportunities with the installation of free Wi-Fi service. The Wi-Fi hotspots were recently commissioned by the Universal Service Fund, USF, as part of government's commitment to increasing internet access and digital reach island-wide. Member of Parliament for St. Elizabeth Southwestern, Floyd Green, welcomed the service and invited residents at Billy's Bay in Treasure Beach to use the internet as a teaching tool.
Let us leverage the provision of this public good and let us set up some classes that we can help our young people get some of the skills that they need. Almost anything we can find on the internet, we can help them to be better versions of themselves, and we must use it for that purpose.
He also encouraged the young people to participate in the USF's Technology Advancement Program, TAP, which offers certification in technology-related fields. Meanwhile, at the Mountainside ceremony, Mayor of Black River, Councillor Derek Sangster, highlighted the importance of the undertaking, saying Wi-Fi was no longer a luxury but a necessity.
So the importance, the vital necessity of Wi-Fi cannot be underscored, and we in Mountainside here are grateful.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Agriculture is all about ensuring food security, but it has far deeper meaning than most people realize. Let's take the soil, for example.
To provide jobs for persons, it lets me feel like, I'm really contributing to the economy of the country. It's just a good feeling. And to produce the quality products, to compete with the international market, and to produce goods that actually look much better than imported goods, it's a good feeling for me.
So by now, we should all be aware of the benefits of leasing lands from the government. But once you've leased the land, how do you maximize returns? Well, knowing the soil type is important. For instance, did you know that over in the Ebony Park Spring Plain Agro Park, the soil type impacts the kinds of crops that can be planted there?
Ebony Park Agro Park is about 1,100 acres, and likewise the Spring Plain, and that's roughly all the lands within there. There are areas of non-arable areas, but there are arable areas. Arable areas amount on the Ebony Park side to about 800 acres. There's a lot of different soil types, predominantly Bonegate, clay loam. Basically anything can grow here. Once it requires a pH of about 6.5 to about 7. There are pockets where the pH might fall to about 5.5, 5.8. So if there's a crop that needs to be having a lower pH, soil could be amended to facilitate that. But basically anything will grow.
So let's revisit our checklist. We've applied and submitted all the necessary documentations, including proof of our capacity to invest in the land. We've learned about soil types and pH balances in the soil. What's next after you've been approved?
They would assign you a plot number, or they'd give you a designated area to where you'd be assigned. I guess you'd view it to see maybe what you'd need to do. If it needs a bit of clearing, you might want to look at that, how you go about doing that. You'll be advised as to the best way to get that done. You might want to go to the NIC because our water is pressurized, and so the NIC supplies it. So a part of your contract would give you the ability to go to NIC with tenure of land, and then they would then come and put your meter on so that you get ready supply for water. We also offer tractor services to plow, harrow, farrow, and other activities that you might want, rotovate and so on for your lands. So you'll be able to do that. Once you do that, we could tell you of maybe different cycles, crop cycles, where you might want to plant, best time for certain crop. You might be able to go out of these seasons, but at least we'll be able to tell you that this crop does well in a particular season. The risk might be higher in another season, but so might be the returns. So you could get advice as to that. So local advice will be there ready for you.
Meet Henry Givens, a youth farmer who is a beneficiary of this initiative. He started out acquiring just 5 acres of land, and today he is up to 15. Givens plants various crops at different stages, including Scotch bonnet pepper, sweet potato, and Maruga red watermelons, as well as slicing and plummy tomatoes.
Leasing land from the government, it is beneficial, and at the point where I would actually want to lease more if available. You know, I am not employed otherwise, so it allows me to take care of my 2 babies, and it allows me to eat and survive. So it is something very beneficial, I would say. Life here at Ebony Park, it's twofold. It's good sometimes and sometimes it's challenging. One, persons around, some persons, they know what to do with their crops, for example, and they don't want to do it. So sometimes, we have a lot of pest and disease outbreak, and some persons just don't want to invest the funds or do what is right to actually, make the agro park much better and a much cleaner environment. And then, also, sometimes there's a major issue with the whole irrigation system. It costs a lot sometimes, because even if you look into the pepper field, sun scalding is a result of a lack of water supply sometimes. But it's a blessing, and there is not only negative, because once you have irrigation, then without the irrigation, I couldn't do anything like this, none at all.
Farming can be an expensive venture, but it's also beneficial. As a youth farmer, the challenges may not even be financial.
Some older persons, because they're so, relatively young, they don't want to work with you because they said they don't want to work with a younger person. However, sometimes it's good to know that, for some persons that really can't afford to go into the farming as deep, that you can provide them with not only a job, but you can also assist them with technical advice to improve their smaller production that they do as well. My advice to younger farmers or investors is that they should not be discouraged or swayed from agriculture. It is something that can be beneficial, and it's a good way to make a good foundation for themselves and their families So it's something that they should look into and be strong about it. That's the only way we can build our country.
It takes a farmer to perceive agriculture as a delicate balance of rough and tender, with Earth's fertility as the most important element. Our female farmers are well equipped to manage this balance.
Farming is a good thing. We have to farm to feed ourselves, yes? Because the money that is going out of the country can stay in the country and develop the country more. Hello, my name is Merlin McAnuff, living in Tupper Hill, Rockall, St. Andrew.
Miss McAnuff is a woman who understands the ins and outs of growing crops and rearing animals, skills she developed from an early age.
I came from a farming background. As a child, I would see the little tomato, sucker them, and I will take them up and start doing my own farming.
Life then called for the mandatory survival course, and so she joined the regular 9-to-5 to make ends meet. But the love of farming did not leave her.
I was working at Church's Credit Union, now First Heritage Credit Union, where I used to farm in my spare time until I met Mr. Vincent McAnuff. Met him August 2000. We got married January 2001.
With Mr. McAnuff's background in farming as their foundation, the couple would set out to St. Ann, where they cultivated cabbage and yams.
But the marriage cut short because he died 2003. So I came home back, not having a husband, not having a job, don't decide to go back in the office. I just took up my cutlass, my hoe, and my fork, and I set back on the land that I was working on.
And up sprung a little sweet pepper, papaya, and string bean, which led to much more.
Now I have corn, celery, yam, sweet potato, cocoa, dasheen, just name it.
Being a pastor for several churches, Ms. McAnuff says she owes it all to God. She creates a daily routine to ensure everything is on schedule.
When I get up in the morning, I do my prayer and then I step to the field because sometimes the sun is very hot. So when you come out in the cool of the morning, you can work with my church. Of course, I preach at 6 churches and I have to attend meeting, I have to attend funeral and all of those, and to go to the market on a Friday.
As a woman in farming, the Rural Agricultural Development Authority RADA noticed her efforts to contribute to Jamaica's food production.
Because of my dedication in farming, and they came and they saw the things that I'm doing. And for one, I can tell you, RADA support me a whole lot. Recently, I received a catchment tank up there from RADA, 1,000 gallons. So I just reap between 900 to 1,000 pound weight of Irish potatoes. And those seeds were given to me by RADA. Even those corn down there, RADA. I have a big pack of carrot seed at home, RADA. There's a bed up there with some sweet pepper sucker as well. I got them from RADA. They always come and give me my seed, fertilizer, sprays.
Agriculture is one of the main drivers of economic growth in Jamaica, earning foreign exchange and creating jobs. Our women are a part of that story, helping to grow the sector and secure Jamaica's food security.
From farming, fisheries, research and development to veterinary medicine, agro-processing, policy development, agribusiness, and other areas, women have taken up the mantle to lead in their respective roles. To support women farmers, we have also made access to the agricultural land a priority for women through the Agro Investment Corporation, AIC, where 20% of all government-owned lands are allocated to youth, including women ages 17 to 35 for agribusiness projects.
And to all Jamaicans, Madam Speaker, we say, let us remain focused and committed to building on the foundation that we now have so that we can establish truly a strong, sustainable and resilient agriculture and fisheries sector going forward.
Now, I am going to continue.
Come here. You didn't know that driving instructors have to get certified by the Transport Authority before them can do them thing? Yep, a time for serious business. Under the new Road Traffic Act, only registered driving instructors or institutions are allowed to give driving lessons for a fee. So, make sure you're registered by January 2024 if you want to work as a driving instructor or operate a driving school. Do the right thing. Get certified if you want to teach persons to drive. Let's do all we can to ensure we arrive alive.
What would we do without food? And what is more vital than our health? Purifying our food is a direct reflection of our own deep cultural, social, and self-cleansing. Nature and its creatures know this symmetry.
Bow your ears for a bit. Hear the trees wailing or the leaves grabbing your unwanted carbon dioxide. Insects making a shrilling sound and the tuneful noise of some unnamed and rarely seen creature reverberating within the bushes. Now open your eyes a bit wider. Watch ants band together in groups of hundreds, or wasps gathering wood shavings to build their next home, and birds preparing some sweet meal for your liking. All these make up the wildlife, those organisms that grow or live wild in any area.
Wildlife conservation is an attempt to preserve either a species or a population of a particular species, and by doing so, you in effect are also preserving its habitat because the species doesn't exist on its own. And there are different types of conservation. You have what they call in situ conservation, which is conservation within its natural habitat, and that is usually the aim of most, if not all, conservation efforts. And you have ex situ conservation, where you're trying to preserve the animals in a not so natural state, for example, in a zoo or in a controlled park area. And again, the goal is usually when their natural habitat is improved or protected in some way, then they try to repatriate those species back into their natural habitat.
And preserving the wildlife should be an important part of the human agenda. Here's why. It promotes the continuation of native plant species. Small animals like bees, butterflies, and our very own doctor bird play an important role in food production. Conserving these animals, protecting these animals, means that we are ultimately helping in pollination. It increases medicinal value. Plants are a major source of medication, but so too are animals. Take, for example, how research shows that the venom from the cobra can be used as an ingredient in making the medications for leprosy, or how lobsters can be used as antifungals. It's a way to preserve our heritage. Some plants and animals are unique to specific countries, so conserving those wildlife means conserving those traditional aspects of our culture. Things like the blue maho plant or the yellow pui tree of Jamaica, and even the lions and leopards of Africa. It enhances food security by protecting natural habitats from degradation and forests against deforestation. The availability of a variety of food products increases.
Everyone needs to play a part. We have to understand that preserving the wildlife, it's not necessarily just for how it can benefit us, but we're also looking at the future generations. And so each person needs to be a little bit more responsible in what they're doing, where they dispose of garbage, cutting off areas and so forth. Understand the law, the Wildlife Protection Act, for example. One basic feature of it is that all native birds are protected. Don't catch the birds. We have hunting season, that is something that is actually regulated. But besides that, we try to encourage persons not to take matters into their own hands at times. Sometimes we have some species that we're trying to protect that are inherently can be a dangerous species, like a crocodile, for example. We encourage persons not to go out and try to catch those animals, but to call NEPA.
Here's your chance to do your part to conserve the wildlife.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness recently offered a breakdown of the government's expenditure and revenue estimates for the start of the financial year. JIS took to the streets of Kingston to hear your views on some of the recent financial changes.
It is a good move for poor people, but what about those who can't afford it? There are those in the society who can afford it and more, they should pay.
As a student myself, I would really appreciate that, I think that would be a good change for the environment and the country. So that's a plus. That's a plus.
That's a good thing for the student.
Great for people, the kids who really want to go ahead, who really want to get out. Like in the ghetto, you need to get out. So that's the only things that are going to get you out.
The helmet thing a good thing to cause some of the bike them can't buy helmet.
Cool. I'll go with me 10,000. But I want the one with the sitting up here so where they can't video now. If me I do wrong or right.
We've reached the end of our program. Get a recap of everything you saw here and more on our website, jis.gov.jm. I'm Audrey Williams. Walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.